So we have a problem, and this is a call to action to advance environmental, energy, and climate education. So earlier this year, we did two things to explore youth knowledge and attitudes in relation to environment, energy, and climate. We collected our evidence by online surveys. We polled this 187 high school youth, 313 youth that are slightly older. That's a total of 500 through online surveys. We also convened 14 one-hour workshops, talked to 172 students. These are focus groups that we did to get a bit of a qualitative read as opposed to the pure quantitative read. Let's start with quantitative. This is the polling. Wyatt, I'll invite you to please drop into the chat here the link to the polling evidence, please, as we go. And this is on our website, and we've extracted from it in the following. And so my question for you is, which of the following results is the most compelling? You'll see one slide. Take a close look. Which is the most compelling? Is it the thing of, at 9 o'clock, 70% of high school students are worried about their future? Is it the 9 of 10 stat that follows it? Is it the energy at 3 o'clock on this picture? Is it the energy literacy stat? Is it the bottom right? Over 2/3 of students agree that educating students about climate change should be a high priority. If you have an opinion on that, and I might ask you, because I am a classroom teacher and we are prone to ask people without warning and without notice, which of these is the most compelling? What leaps out at you? Drop that in the chat if you'd like. I invite you to do that. Meanwhile, one of the things that these wonderful pollsters do, this is done by Leger, of course, is this notion of segmentation. And so they segmented Alberta youth into 3 different categories: alarmed, to the left, concerned, passive, and dismissive. And alarmed, of course, is the highest belief in climate change, and dismissive is the opposite there. So I have a question. Question appears at the bottom. What percentage of youth do you feel fall into each category? Think about that for a sec, based on the students you know. Jot that down or get it in your head. Ballpark the number. And I have good news for you. I've dropped in the answers. Alarmed is 55%. It's a majority of youth that are alarmed. Only 10% dismissive. And a third in the middle, concerned, passive. Creating potential for, frankly, learning about energy and environment and climate and action. We're the Alberta Council for Environmental Education. Since our inception, we've always understood that that energy and environment are 2 sides of the same coin. And in that space, of course, appears this notion of climate education. These days we do all 3. We think of all 3. Let's look at the focus group results. So again, and Wyatt, if you're willing, just drop in the link to the Youth Narrative and Voice report. Excellent report done by Climate Outreach. Really thoughtful bunch of people and some really interesting quotes. So I'm going to give you some of the qualitative things, and I may read some of the shorter ones. I don't know much about climate. I don't know much about global warming. I don't know why. I'd like to learn more about that. We had tears in our focus in my staff when we were analyzing the focus group results because of things like this. This is a 12-year-old girl in this case. And our hearts go out to her. We want to help. I think you probably want to help too. So let's keep going here. That's what today's session is about. From a rural area, I get worried about climate change, like also with most of my family being farmers, weather's being messed up. Last sentence, different livelihoods are being destroyed and stuff, grade 7. We're aware that the culture in Alberta in some sections cuts against having real conversations about this stuff. All my family is very conservative. I would get in so much trouble. That's a high school student. Instilling this in education in a more systematic way could turn our culture around on that front. That's an opportunity. Speaking of opportunities, here's a wonderful technological, this grade 11 student understands a bit about the thing, about it's not enough to change a light bulb. Sometimes you have to change policy. Sometimes you have to do big things, like in the engineering thing. I want to learn about the engineering side. It ends with really big engineering things that will really make a difference. Cool. Let's help that grade 11 student. And so no more quotes. These are just general findings. Students are concerned. Students across all age groups feel that responsibility has fallen on them. You've heard that before. And that other key actors are not playing their part, such as government. More data here, but I just want to lift out a couple of bullets. First bullet is we noticed that students in Alberta are struggling with key climate change concepts. There's a poor understanding of our energy system, energy sources, energy production. Second bullet, a desire to learn about the nitty-gritty of energy production. Third bullet, only a vague understanding of the terms. Fourth bullet, concerns. And this cuts to the politicization and the how difficult it can be to have a real conversation about this, and given the polarization of some energy environment topics. Education is custom made, isn't it? To turn that around and to help kids practice empathetic learning, critical thinking. Let's do that some more. So we get into a solution space shortly here. This is a summary though. Our young people lack environmental literacy. That pops out of the data. Knowledge about climate and hope for the future. That hope thing. Polling and focus groups. Evidence tells us that given the knowledge vacuum, kids don't know. Students can construct false and sometimes apocalyptic narratives and experience high levels of eco-anxiety. And so it's our feeling as an organization that we are at a bit of a turning point in the road here. There's an important turn ahead as we, whether it's driven by energy transition or low oil and gas prices or the pandemic, it seems like a time of change. By the way, let's just talk about the role of the teacher here. We love teachers. Teachers want to go there. They tell us about barriers. Our survey works tells them they're limited by the curriculum. Second bullet, lack quality resources. This despite, we try and push them out, but they feel that they lack quality resources, and we get that. And call for more professional learning to keep up with these rapidly moving topics, rapidly unfolding and evolving topics. 71% agree that more should be done. So what can we do? What can we do about this? So we are aware, aren't we? This is a very simple systems map of the education system with students in the middle as they should be. It's more complicated than that, isn't it? There's parents, Alberta education off to the left. There's groups like ours in the bottom left, and over 100 such groups in Alberta that we're trying to bring to play here. It's more complicated than that. We have representation here from at 12 o'clock. We have representation from the ASBA, Alberta School Boards Association. Brian Callahan is joining us, was former executive director of the PSBAA, the Public Schools Board Association of Alberta, and so on. We have superintendents, that's the right-hand side of this cast. And by the way, let's just flag the decision makers here. This is oversimplified, but this is, and I suppose we're sharing a little bit of our theory of change here. We believe that these decision makers have a role to play in influencing what that student in the center learns and doesn't learn, feels and doesn't feel, and just how hopeful they might feel for the future. So I'm going to touch briefly on some tools that we've created to support this work. One of the reasons I mention it here is because the education minister actually refers to this document, which you'll hear in about 3 minutes from now, I think, 3 or 4 minutes. So we've developed the Curriculum for a Sustainable Future. These are our recommendations from the community in answer to this wicked question: what should Alberta students learn about environment, energy, and climate? We've been working on this for a decade. Started the work with interviews with 35 opinion leaders. Every year we revise it. And this isn't even the most recent revision is October 2020. Students on the call wrote this student white paper. Students are amazing, and these students are particularly amazing. This document is Supporting Leadership in Environmental, Energy, and Climate Education in Alberta Schools, September 2020. Much of what you'll hear from them and much of the ask that you'll hear and see, because we have some slides with that information, come from this document. Other tools, we've created a roadmap to excellent climate change education with some key concepts. We'll share out post-meeting today as tools like this that you can share with teachers in your school division. We believe we've moved the needle on how to deliver with success climate change education using number 1 at the bottom there, approach with empathy, number 2, connect to nature, and there's there's 4 other bullets, 4 other actually pretty thoughtful points. That's what the whole thing looks like. It's a roadmap. Let me move on. We've also mapped out, this is a tree. This is our tree of environmental education. It might as well be. This is our definition of environmental education. It is student learning, which is the trunk of the tree, in energy, which is the right-hand branch, outdoors, which is the upper left branch, and conservation, which is the branch at 9 o'clock on your screen. We believe that all teachers have something that they can do to advance environmental education as it's defined here, which might as well be defined as climate education, right? Do you agree? It's got lots of energy. And if you care about climate, teach about energy. That's what we say to our teachers, the teachers with whom we're lucky enough to spend time. So this is a good roadmap, and we've mapped out on our website, we'll send you the link, we've mapped out for, say, grade 3 social studies or grade 4 science, where the we make the environmental education topics pop for teachers. We tried to do some of that work for them. Other encouraging developments, somebody called Julie Herdlicka, who will speak with us, can talk about this. This is a resolution that she proposed that was passed by the ASBA, that all Alberta students must be provided access to an environmental education. More recently, the Alberta Teachers Association coming on strong in support of teaching kids in a developmental way about climate and climate change.